Good morning, Amila. Can you hear me? Right. Okay.
Good morning, sir. Yes, can hear.
Hope you can see the PowerPoint. Can you see the PowerPoint as well? Okay. Okay. Right. So let's see.
Yes, sir.
Only two people like Amila and Chirag joined for the moment. So we'll start the session until others join in. So basically, last 2 weeks actually, what we have discussed was like we started discussing about the syllabus, an introduction to the development finance and introduction to the credit in a very brief way. And then following week we discuss about SME banking, SME lending, type of products very briefly, and I requested you to go through the product details in detail. So whenever we undertake past papers, we will be in a position to do some past paper questions also, which could be a support for us to attempt a past paper. I mean incoming examination papers or questions, right? So today, still that we are continuing the SME segment, where last week we discussed about SME definitions, what is SME, importance of SME to the economy, right? Kind of a sectors, and then the new trends in the SME banking, and what are the like type of products, kind of thing. So this week actually, so we are trying to understand further, and how these people like SMEs, entrepreneurs, are getting funds to start carry out their businesses. So that's what basically we are trying to understand today's session, right? So basically the presentation we are going to cover today is sources of financing, internal and external. Where how best that you can find the internal sources, and then how we are going to find the funds through external sources. And then we also move to especially into the development financing sources, where if you are into do development financing projects like project financing, infrastructure projects, where that we can get the funds, especially like in Sri Lanka, if you take highways, harbor, airports, like, so these are bigger projects. So where we can find those, where we can find the the funding for those projects is the number two. Number three is the kind of other sources, and we see what are the general funding sources available for SME entrepreneurs. Finally, we try to look into what are the supportive policies and institutions to support this SME segment. So these are basically the today's session that we are planning to cover. In general, when you say sources of financing, we are trying to understand venture capital, business angels, and the business growth. There are three type of areas that we are trying to discuss here: business growth, venture capital, and business angels. So maybe business angels are not very common in Sri Lankan context, but even venture capital we can find here and there some companies are offering. But business growth is very common phenomena that we can find in every market, including Sri Lanka. So business growth could be internal as well as external, right? So we will first see what is the internal growth funding, and then we will see what is the external growth funding for business support or business development. Internal means it's like this. Let's say you are a company and you are doing business over a period of time, and year and year, what you are trying to do is, if you are making profits, right? So you can make use of that part of the profits to support the further investment of your company. Let's say you try to make some money and say opening up an additional outlet. So bringing down some several machinery, right? So those are something just where you can get the money in, right? And that might help you to develop your business. So in that way, we'll see what are the internal sources of this kind of a growth. First one is organic growth. It says growth generated through the development and expansion of the business itself. It means how you can achieve the organic growth is basically you are not looking for outsiders, outside sources. So you look into your company, right? You try to make some, profits, could retain for next year, or could invest back into the fixed asset or working capital, so that you can go to the next level of your company. So how we are going to do that? So in order to support the organic growth, so you can use these type of activities, that is increasing sales, right? So if you can, year on year, if you can, make your strategies to increase your sales, that might support to make additional income, profits. Again, you can incorporate, or you can support for your business. Then retain profit. So every year you make a profit after paying off dividend. You have something called profit you can carry forward for next year. So it called as a retained revenue or retained reserve kind of thing. So that could be used to support the business growth. So that's another method we call the organic growth. That's sale of assets also. So depending on the circumstances, so you can have that option also into consideration. Like say you have some kind of assets, especially if you see these days. So the due to this pandemic and this COVID-19 pandemic, we see business operations are not so great as we have been doing during the past. So what you could do is, so you can dispose some assets, and that money can be invested to make a equity infusion of money towards a business. But remember, when you are going to do that, you have to do it in a very good, after thinking. Why? Because now, when you are reducing the assets by disposing, it means that you are impacting the capacity of the firm. So then you have to see, in these days, yes, it's correct, because it's okay to reduce the capacity because you don't have that kind of a demand. But whenever you are in a time where you have increased demand, obviously you need to, buy some of the machines again. So that is also possible, because right now you need to reduce the cost, then go for outside financing, you sell some assets, get the money, you put into working capital, and you do the business because reduce capacity. And when the business back in operation in higher level, then again use this money or outside money to purchase back the assets that you have already sold, and you can do a better job. So it's like this. When you say organic growth could be facilitated, which is internal sort of measure, internal mechanism to support your growth, where you can generate increase in sales, using retained profits, sale of assets, are some kind of mechanisms to support these internal sources. That's organic growth being achieved using these three, right? So one thing is, like when you are in an organic growth, yes, your progress may be slow, but it is steady because no outside control, no outside impact. You understand? Because it's then you are free of threats, because nobody would come and tell what to do and how to do, taking the ownership of your firm, and those things will all not be happening when you are in the organic growth. Hope you understand what is organic growth, which is one of the internal sources of financing. Okay. Then we go to external, which is very common in most markets, because every time you may not be in a position to go for, achieve organic growth due to various limitations, maybe resource, maybe sort of funding, knowledge. So like that, you may have to go to external sources also, depending on which industry you are. So now we see what are the external sources of financing available for these SMEs, entrepreneurs, micro or whatever enterprises, in order them to grow for next level. That is long term, short term, and inorganic growth. So long term maybe, so you may go for long term financing, which you are trying to obtain from bank or other financial institutions. And maybe short term, again from financial institutions or banks, or maybe kind of investors, but then you are trying to pay it out within a shorter period. The last one is inorganic growth, where you try to support the growth through acquisition, through mergers kind of thing. Because say you are right now into buying and selling business, you might thinking about, why not if I am manufacture and sell. So in order to do manufacture, organic perspective, what you have to do is you can have a factory open and buy raw materials, deploy people, and start the process in a small way. Step by step, you can improve your production process. If not, you can look for a very good production organization. Right now they do this same kind of business, and then you acquire. Backward integration. You go acquire. Now you have a production plant, production company, and you are there here. And then sometimes you think about when you are selling, so why should I go to the outsourcing or distributor? What if I am purchasing, or acquiring a marketing, purchasing, distribution firm? Forward integration. That is also possible. That is inorganic growth. Rather than you wait using your own funds, own resources to build your organization from A to Z, like supply chain from A to Z. So you can acquire, you can merge with another one or two companies where right now they are in that business, and now in a shorter period, so you have from A to Z operations. So those are basically the external sources of financing. In long term, I'll go through in brief what are the instruments, right? So you can read through later, but these are the long term funding mechanisms. Like, say you are a company, and if you want to go for investors and get the money, request money, that could be done through share options, share issuers. It could be ordinary shares, preference shares, or it could be new share issue. It could be rights issue, where you have some shares, and then you issue some of the shares as a right for every. So whatever existing shareholders, you will say, right, so I will issue a right share. It's predominantly for you to buy, not the new shareholders. New share is something for a new investors. Bonus scrip issue, that is again for existing shareholders. So you give some bonus shares for them, like that. So there are some methods in long term to get the money. Raise the money. That is share issuance. Which is why you say it's long term, because not like bank loan, not like other loan, shares, it's long term instrument. You need not to pay it immediately. So you can pay in the form of dividends, even if it is ordinary shares. You may need not to pay if you're not making profits, dividends also. So you have that comfort also, right? But this is a very good instrument where if you want to grow, you can go to share market. Even you are SME, now there is SME board, you can go to share market and issue shares and get the investors to invest. You get the money, and then you can use that money in your fixed assets, working capital, and growth of the company. Long term, there are another set of instruments also, like debentures, bank loans, investment bank support, government grants, right? European Union sort of like foreign grants and all that. So there are so many aspects of instruments getting the money towards the company. So if the shares is one, loans is another one. When you say debentures, bank loans, merchant or investment banks, also they support you, right? So these are again the people and instruments available for you. If you are thinking in that way, say you are an entrepreneur, you want to grow to next level. Right now, so you have been doing very well, but you see that, you know, you want to go to next level, say 100 million, you want to make it double. For that, obviously, you need to take a loan. So you may be thinking going to the share market and, you know, issue shares and get some investors on board. Or you may issue debentures to some extent, maybe underlined by another merchant bank. Maybe you will not be, you know, acceptable to that level. Then maybe the merchant bank or maybe whatever the underwriting company will, you know, support you in case something happens. We are there for issuers, right? Underwriters to the issue. So like that, there may be so many supporters, so many people to support you if you want to generate cash. Short term, like we know, like we learned last time, there are so many instruments, so many products where you can go to the market and source funding. Bank loans, ODs, factoring, leasing, trade credit. I mean, so many, you know, products are available. So this is all about the general banking. So what I'm trying to, you know, give it to you is basically think about customer's perspective. So last week, as a bank, we think about what we can offer to the customer. But when you are in a customer perspective, customer side, you look at the bank and say that, you know, I want long-term financing. What is available for me? So I want long-term, some sort of, you know, very less risky, or I might say less burden instrument. That is shares is a good option. No, I don't want long-term. It's good that, you know, I can get something about short-term financing. So what is that? Short-term financing probably where within 1 year, you say that you can pay off. You're trying to, you know, mainly use that funds in the working capital. And then you can go to a bank and say whether I can get a short-term loan. I can get a factoring facility. I can get a postage check discount facility. I can get a pledge facility, or maybe bank guarantees, bonds like that. So that could support for you because you don't have adequate money to organically support your growth. So that's why we go external financing. And then short term, long term. In terms of long term, we have shares and loans are instruments available for us to support the growth. Right. Before moving to the inorganic growth, any questions up to now? Any questions that you need to raise here? Now we have enough number of participants. Is anybody joined today itself? Do we have anybody joined today? Malki, you joined today for us, with us?
No, sir. Okay.
Probably you mean to say you joined today, right?
No. Yeah. Last weekend.
You were there, right? No problem. Right. I just wanted to see whether that if we have new persons on board. So we actually you know, last 2 weeks actually we have done some basics into the SME banking and introduction. So you can, you know, get the data, I mean the presentations here and go through. And if you do have any issues, let me know in coming weeks. Right. Then do you have any questions so far? May not be difficult, but you need to, you know, understand that as a concept, because in many areas that, you know, we are very much worried about, you know, sources of financing, because now it's like when the customer wanted to grow, then in the customer's perspective, they don't know where to go and what to discuss with the bank. There may be so many products available, but, you know, that knowledge to be passed to those prospective customers by yourself, being bankers. So we should know both sides. Last week we talked about, you know, the banking, SME definitions, products available. That is from the banker's side. But when you go to customer side, so this matching the sources of financing to be matched with the product availability. Especially we have maybe the share underwriting also, maybe our banks may be doing debentures, maybe long-term loans, mortgage loans, leasing, hire purchase, and maybe short-term loans. And so everything it is in our banking book. But you need to know first is like what are the products, features and all that. Then you need to understand what is the customer's requirement. And then you need to match it perfectly so that both are in win-win wickets. Okay. Then we will continue. Inorganic growth. What is the inorganic growth? So far we learned about organic growth, and that is about internal. External we talk about shares, term lending, short-term lending as well. So inorganic growth is something that you try to do out of the box. Not very frequent. Not very many people are opting to do this. But we can see this is another good tool where you can grow your organization for the next level in a quicker time. So two options: mergers, takeovers. So firms agree to join together. Both may retain some form of identity. So you may have heard recent past, some banks got together to make a bigger bank. Example, NDB Bank and the previously National Development Bank versus the ABN AMRO got together and form a NDB Bank today. And DFCC Bank and Mardana got together and now it's a DFCC Bank. So they got merged. So when merging, both institutions retained some of their identities. Not everything is become, say, one. Because ABN AMRO, they have something, processors, people, skills kind of thing. National Development Bank, those days actually more development arm, no commercial arm at all. But they also kept something and then came together and now bigger bank. But, cultures, so some other things also, they are in this bigger organization. That's a merger. Identities selectively kept after merger when incorporating the bigger organization. So takeovers. In a takeover, what happened is, so one organization is going to acquire another organization. While doing so, the one organization loses its identity. It's possible. So if the majority firm or the firm that you are going to acquire you has the final say. There's no sort of, a win-win sort of thing. So we have seen so many occasions for that also. Like if you take bigger organizations, bigger groups like Hayleys and also under Mr. Dhammika Pereira. So they have executed a lot of takeovers from small companies. And then thereafter small companies name, brand, logo and all that. No more there. Instead, the main group, cultures, and then, identities, processes, strategies will be prevail. So we can't say, mergers are good, takeovers are good. So depending on the situation, depending on the requirement, depending on the environment, So these are some of the strategies available for us to do a inorganic growth. Right. Any questions? So far we discussed about sources of financing. Under business growth, we discuss organic growth, inorganic growth. So organic growth could be achieved using several activities like increasing sales, using retained earnings, and selling of assets kind of thing. Then come to the inorganic growth. Inorganic growth, or it could be something about mergers and acquisition. And then also we discuss about long-term and short-term options also in external sources of financing. So internal sources is basically about the organic growth. External financing, external sources of financing is term loans, short-term loans, and inorganic growth. Those are the 4 areas that we have learned. Important area, because sometimes these things are not very frequent in questioning, but the examiner could test us then and there. So we need to be ready on these concepts at high level. You need not to go very detailed, but it's good that if you know what are the share issuance, and what are the term lending, what are the short-term financing, because these things anyway coupled with the previous session where a type of products in that way, and the other way is sources of financing. So they probably have different instruments to support this type of request. Right. Before moving to the next area, any questions? Okay, apparently you don't have much or many issues on this, because this is anyway straightforward, but still if you do have any questions, please let me know, so that we can answer and we can move forward. Right. Okay, now we move to business angels, which are very not common in Sri Lankan context, but we can see those things in many other developed markets. So in business angels, we talk about small investors, small amounts. If you put it in amounts like it's less than 100,000 or so, right? Because informal investors got together and they form. Sorry, it's like 100K, 100,000. It's pounds I have given here, because to give us some world perspective here, because it's not very common in Sri Lanka, so that we can't give a kind of example on that. But in global perspective, these are like, say, if you want to do investment, you have some money. So what you could do is, you see any kind of the investment proposition, and then you can pool your funds there and make a kind of trust sort of thing, and then they provide investment like financing support to whoever who want money, right? It could be either maybe one person doing this type of financing support, or a couple of investors. But remember, it's not in a bigger amounts, right? It's not in a bigger amount. It's a small investments. Maybe that's why I say up to 100,000 pounds. When you have these business angels present, so you are an entrepreneur. Now you want some money. What you could do is, you can go to this one of the business angels or this consortium and ask for money. But in return, they have some control over your business, right? In terms of appointing directors, in terms of deciding or developing some business strategies, right? Because in return, they you have to pay them what you have borrowed, right? So basically, they have a kind of, control of your firm and firm's operations. But the business angels and venture capitalists mainly differ. Both are investment, the instruments, investment teams, but amount-wise and complexity-wise, business angels are less complex, and in terms of investment, less investments, less money involved. Processes are also not very, how I should say, very complex again, right? Simple. So those are business angels. So when you come to venture capital, it talks about larger money, right? Say more than 500,000 pounds. And it's a bit of longer term. High growth businesses, high risk businesses, and expertise now are in this type of businesses. That's the main difference between business angels and the venture capital. In business angels, yes, probably you have some money and you put into a pool, and in return, in turn, they will give money to some other segments, but not necessarily that you have that exposure towards the business where your money has invested. But in terms of venture capital, it's a bit different. So you put bigger money as a venture capital firm, but you are capable. You know what type of industries that you are going to in. And you have the expertise on the particular industries, right? So those are bit of high risk industries also. And in terms of entrepreneur, so he doesn't have adequate money to run, but he has a very good business idea. So then he go to a venture capital. So majority is controlled by these venture capital firms. They run the organization on behalf of you. So after some time, they might move out from the business, getting their stake. Then you are in a better position with the developed business, right? So how you move from zero to that level? That is a support with the venture capital, which you can't do it alone because you don't have adequate money, capital. But obviously, you have the very good concept, business idea, skill. You have that. So then only the venture capital would come and say, yes, though it is risky, we see a very good business proposition, so we'll do it as a together. That's a venture capital perspective, proposition. In Sri Lanka, yes, we can see several venture capitals operating single companies or part of the groups also. So not very much, in common, but here and there we can find the venture capital companies. I mean, similarly, if you see the bank giving loan to a company to support their growth, the venture capital do the same thing. So venture capital might go as an equity partner. But the difference between the bank giving loan to venture capital giving loan is venture capitals are taking very high risk. Example, say now customer comes to you and say, I'm so and so, I have got a good government contract from sending cargo from Colombo to Jaffna, for example. For that, I want to purchase a cargo ship, or I want to hire a cargo ship. So, but what I can do is, so I have all the the approvals, formalities done, and whatever infrastructure and everything is done. But the cost could be like say 2 billion, for example. So, but what I can do is maybe 20%. That's the maximum that I can bring as equity. So 80% has to be borne by whoever the financier. But bank would obviously not look that opportunity as lucrative. They see very high risk, we might not be able to do it. But probably the venture capital company would see this as a very great opportunity. So they might come and they invest on that. They support on you, but they might come on your board. They take some decisions. They now own the company, maybe 85% with them, so 15% with you. But it's a good proposition. High risk, high return also there. But the cargo that you get a very good return. If you take the total capital cost, could be recovered in 3 years sometimes based on the income that you are getting. But for bank, it's too risky. But with venture capital, risky, but they will accept because that's for that business they are in. Right. This is how it basically happening. Pooling of capital in the form of limited companies, venture capital companies, looking for investment opportunity in fast-growing businesses or businesses with highly rated prospects. So high growth could be complex also. Highly rated prospects. For that only the venture capital come and invest. May also buy out firms in admin who are going concerns. That also they can do. If you see that the companies are not doing well, and you need different insights, so you might purchase those companies, acquire those companies, run it and make it to some level and sell it to somebody else with good money. May also provide advice, contacts, experience. So that's also possible because they have a lot of contacts, pool of resources, because they do several venture capital with so many organizations. Now remember, let's say now how the venture capitalists minimize their risk. If they always going for risky industries, risky businesses, now they also do back of the annual of calculation on concentration risk. They may not invest everything in the tourism, everything in the IT, everything in the construction. No, they have done in some export businesses, tourism, BPO, education. So in their portfolio, they try to minimize the exposures, impact of the exposures. If everything you do for the tourism, like these days, you're finished, right? But venture capital is not like that. So venture capital, they have a portfolio of tourism. Similarly, they have a portfolio into exports. Oh, agree. If this is not happening, these are happening. So that's why they say, they go the highly rated prospects, growing businesses. But only thing is, venture capitals are going to, go and invest mainly in case if they don't have adequate capital or seed capital, initial capital. That is absent. So that's why the entrepreneur come and meet venture capitalist and say that, I have very good business idea, but I have limited capital. So I want capital first. With your support that if I can get that, so we can make this business to next level. Maybe the bank may not be looking at in that, way. They might say, yes, good, but, high risk. If I want to be with you, if I want to be your financing partner, you need to bring at least 50% of equity. So if not, may not be practically feasible. So that's how basically the venture capital roles that we have been experiencing. Right. So now we are trying to move sources of finance, especially for development, because we are into development financing. So we see what are the development financing initiatives, and for that, what are the financing sources available in macro perspective. Right. Before moving to that, any question? Yeah, Tarindu has a question. Is venture capital a direct financing or indirect? Yeah, Tarindu, it's a direct financing. Let's say you want to, you have, let's say, for example, you want to put up, what do you call, organic farm, right? But since that you have maybe leased out land in maybe area like say Kalpiti or whatever, and then you have very good sort of technology about seed, about watering, about keeping harvesting kind of more techno specific way. So you have a very good project proposal. Suppose that cost maybe 30 million, but you have only 2 million or 3 million. But it's a huge amount, huge ask for a bank to give 27 million, given that you are a novice to this, though that you have very good knowledge on about this type of agri farming. That probably you might be earlier working to a kind of organization that you have acquired. enough knowledge. Only issue is you don't have capital. Then you would go to a venture capital. So you and venture capital, you enter into agreement. It's a direct agreement. They might finance whatever you short for. Instead, they might come to your board also. So they might acquire, in the sense like 15% to you and 85% of your company is under their control. Control is now no more with you because they are the, controlling the organization activities, strategy and all that. But you provide whatever your support, your area of strength will help them. So it's a direct financing, right? So two parties, venture capitals and the entrepreneur, like a bank. Bank, again, bank and the venture capital, sorry, entrepreneur. So bank would direct finance here. But here, direct finance here, and then they have the control. They even come to the board. They even run to the day-to-day management of the firm also. But the beauty here is, so after 2, 3, 4 years, they may not be with you for about eternal. Once they see that, they can, take back their investment. And so sometimes even you can pay them and get back the ownership and you can run it. Because to that extent, together you have grown the company. So that's what the venture capital firms are doing. Because their return is very high. ROE not like 15 to 20%. So it could be 50% something. Venture capital is not a liability of financing. The venture capital is not the sort of financing commitment, but they are the owners. Because they are risking their financing. Because your company, the total cost is 30 million. 27 million is with their money. If this is going to fail, what happens? You lose only 3 million, they lose also 27 million. Right? The financing commitment is basically, if I am a venture capitalist, it's with me. So Tharendra is not going to pay me like every month or like that because it's a business partners. So profitability is set 10 million, 3 million for you, 7 million for them. Like that, or whatever. 8 million for them or 2 million for you, like that. That's a profit sharing. But over a period of time, that 10 million could go to 12 million, to 30, to 20, 30, 40, 50 million. Then you also growing, they also growing. So after some time, you can pay off them and get the ownership also. That provisions also there in the venture capital agreement. Okay. Any other questions? Very good question, Tarindu. What about others? Because it's very important to know venture capital role. Right, because when you do past papers, I'll share what the examiner has given us. In many instances, we have seen the examiner has, asked us to write a short note on venture capital or role of venture capital. Why the venture capital is different from banks like that. So several questions we'll do, but it's good to know the venture capital because not like business angels, venture capital is very hot topic. They have set questions for us to write a short note or brief note. Any questions? In announcement, next week, we don't have classes. The IBSL is not going to conducting classes. So you need not to log in for the next Sunday. Then we will meet in New Year. So I will again repeat it. We don't have classes next Sunday, and we will be meeting New Year for the next class. So you can take extended holidays, subject to no quarantine curfew or no lockdown, no restrictions outside Colombo. So make sure things are done according to the health guidelines. Right? Any questions on what we have done so far? Malki, Roshika, Malaka, Kalani, Dilanja. Hope you have got it. Amila. So means that I know it's not difficult, but maybe new concepts, but try to get it in a simple way. So whenever we do past papers and all that, so it will get further internalized, not direct things, because since sometimes those some of these propositions are hearing first time, right? Thanks, Amila. Right, great. So we'll move to the next. So this is basically that we are trying to understand what are the, in very high level, right, the sources of financing available for a country. Because earlier it could be something about, micro entrepreneurs perspective, SMEs perspective. But here we talk about bigger projects undertaken by consortium of investors or Sri Lankan government, right? Or maybe a kind of a bigger, sort of number of customers got together and undertaking a bigger projects. As I initially highlighted, it could be a construction of airport, harbor, highway, right? So those projects may not be, easily achieved by one individual, or maybe it's something about, government, private enterprises. So try to do that kind of project. So for that, we'll see what are the available support from other governments, multinational organization, foreign banks, and the government itself in a given country. So we'll see what are those in providing financing for development projects. First one is international institutions. So why I put that is, now you may be hearing those days, even right now, there are so many international organizations operating around the globe. If you talk about today, even World Health Organization is come to foray and try to provide grants, aids to purchase vaccine. Because a country like Sri Lanka or country like similar in nature may be needing financing to purchase vaccines. It's a kind of a support. So it is not necessarily to development activities, but it is indirect support to a country's economy. And if you think about World Bank, Asian Development Bank, or KfW like German Bank, JICA, the Japan, IMF, so many international institutions are there. So they would support you giving some financing. It could be a grant, it could be aid, it could be a loan, and different mechanisms of financing are available. So you need to know at least a couple of organizations and what their roles are when we are, discussing this type of proposition. So World Bank, agency of UN, a group of 5 organizations which focus on providing funds for projects aimed at alleviating poverty, inequality, and promoting development. So it has around 184 odd members. So basically, these are the 5 institutions, right? So basically, the World Bank, they try to support member countries to uplift standard of living, alleviating poverty, minimize inequality, promote their social, cultural, and physical development. So World Bank is a very good organization, that the entity which supports us to development or other related country initiatives. There are 5 institutions: IBRD, IDA, IFC, MIGA, IC, SID. I mean, just for your read, no need to memorize kind of thing. But if you say, which I have marked in red, those 2 organizations are directly providing this financial support. IBRD provides loans and advice to poor countries to assist development. That's important. And IFC providing financing through private sector for development. If you see these days, IFC, have funded so many banks. It's a financing arm of the World Bank. And IBRD also similar. But make sure IMF is not the financing arm. Not very recently, maybe 4 or 5 years back, when there are questions like write down two global institutions who provide financial or development assistance to countries like Sri Lanka. So you can write obviously World Bank, or you can cite IFC, ADB, JICA, KFW and all that, but IMF is not the correct answer, because some students have written IMF is an organization where provide finance support. No, they are not. So keep that in mind. IFC, yes, they do financing. IBRD, yes, they do financing. But IMF is not. So IMF is a different organization set up for different purposes. If you read through this, you can understand that. Set up 1944. It's set up to help put in place an economic structure that will help prevent the problems experienced in many countries in the 1930s. So that was the initial aim. It aims to stabilize the international monetary system and help when monetary flow from trade causes problem. So if the country having the balance of payment, import-export gap, so then IMF come and so they support to stabilize in that flow. Also help and advise. Balance of payment problems, also they help. So basically their main function is to stabilize in the trade gap, import-export gap, balance of payment, monetary system stabilization. Not like development project finance. So keep that in mind, because IFC, yes, ADB, yes, KFW, so many organizations, but not IMF. Because those days actually, so we have IFC, IMF like that. So examiner had not given marks for this answer for IMF. Just for you. So even right now, if you want to read it, go to Google, go to Investopedia and all that. So you can read through what exactly the role of World Bank, role of IFC, role of IMF, role of ADB is good to know. As I was telling, a couple of students send me your mobile number, so I added you to a couple of their groups. So if you want, let me know so that I can add you to those groups. And probably, so there may be similar like you all people are involved there, and you can share whatever the information related to exam and otherwise, so that you can get some benefit about the articles sharing there. And on top of that, I initially asked you to try to find as much as SME related, microfinance related, project related, development budget related articles, and keep it in a file and read at your leisure. So it supports you a lot, because these days people are talking about debt trap. We need to understand what is debt trap. Are we in a debt trap? So why, when you are saying we want to take loans and to pay the existing loans, why the loans balance are not coming down? So many things that you need to be interested knowing. So read through those articles, share those articles, and get to know about a macro, what's happening. I mean, don't go to work and get things done and come to home and do things and get the paper passed. No, that's not the aim, objective of this exercise. Always try to take this as the initiative and then go to the next level. What's happening around the globe? What's happening in the economic growth in other countries? And Sri Lanka, that the first quarter, so we have a minus 5 point something growth. Second quarter, the third quarter also. So the second quarter we have minus 16. Third quarter we have plus 1. It's like that. So you need to know what's happening, which sectors impacted, why, and how we can go about this. What's the government doing to support export drive, and what about made in Sri Lanka concept? So those are important. So why I'm telling, even for exams, so sometimes they might, ask 1 or 2 questions, relating to these current topics, right? So then you need to not to, go through sort of, the theory. So you might be hearing here and there, and you have articles, you read through, because maybe one article may not, providing a conclusive answer for you, because he might be written, his thought of view. But you can, read another article, another article. So then you can think about, actually Sri Lanka is in a debt trap or not. So what could we do to, move away from this debt trap? Now, example. So these days, even highway stages are now being contracted to local entrepreneurs or local contractors. So there should be some thinking behind that. Rather than you go for international contractors, the government up to go to local contractors. Probably, the money is a local currency. If you go for international, yes, you need to take loans, maybe foreign dominated. But local, yes, local banks could do. Yeah, there you have some arguable points where you have to print the currency and do it. The inflation could go up, but still you can manage. It does not impact your exchange rate. If the exchange rate is impacted, what happened? Your foreign dominated loans, balances could go up, interest could go up, right? For that, you need to have local currencies to buy foreign currency. Then again, you need to pay, instead of 190, you have to pay 220 per dollar. That again, you are in a kind of a different wicket. So they are very interesting, right? Have a curiosity and go and read it and discuss with your friends. So then you also, a bit of, the high level operator. Then, when you go and when you hear it, and you can put 1 or 2 arguments like that. Maybe your regional manager, even AGM, DGM. So you also have some thoughts. So they will recognize you. They will value you. That is what we want. Because whatever we do, we not doing for passing the exam, no, is maybe one objective. I always tell this. So market yourself, not like those days. Now, even newcomers, even banking trainee, now joining with a degree sometimes, right? Because there are so many opportunities outside there. I mean, so many organizations offering degrees. And maybe by age of 23, they would have Master of Business Administration also. I don't know the knowledge, but that's the trend. But you need to compete sometimes, when you go outside with these people. Knowledge is the key. Since we are in the banking, yes, not only the operational, not only the inside banking, you need to know outside. What's happening sectors, what's happening to entrepreneurs, what are the current trends in the market, what are the new normal behavior of the customers. Sometimes you may be knowing that, this online platform, I mean, so many into now online, education to, purchase into e-commerce, and so everything is there now. So many organizations like IT companies and all that, so now they are no more go for the bigger rents. They have reduced their office capacities and working from home, right? So they sometimes, they have done so many initiatives for that. So for us, there may be banking opportunity also. So in order to execute that, you need to know what is happening in particular industries. Now, some companies, yes, they have, shut down their retail outlets and doing it in the online platform like Daraz and all that. There are so many, the dealers attached to the Daraz platform and do it. What made you to do that? You save so many costs. Electricity to water to space to AC, and maybe a number of people employed, and your transport and all that. So everything is now saved. You sometimes, you have warehouses and you get the order through online and you deliver it. So that's why we get something pre-delivery, right? With discounts, because now they can offer it. Yeah, their margins anyways there. Earlier they have to have 25% margin, used to cover all, to absorb all costs. Now a 10% margin would do them, profitable. I mean, no hassle, being in home, two people operation, say they do more than what they have been doing in previous in volumes, right? Just a kind of, you know, the outside discussion, because very important, thinking that way, right? Big thinking, like in what we call outside the box, thinking big. Don't think that, you know, I should, you know, in another 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, I'm in the same branch, being the manager. No, don't think in that way. So what if I can go to AGM in another finance company or investor firm? So thinking big. So when you are thinking in that way, you try to find the knowledge, acquire skill, improve skills, even your personality, right? So many things we can do. I mean, that's what generally we have to do. I mean, I know that you may be doing those things. I just, you know, add some my thoughts also. It's good. Sometimes I could have done it. Some of the things maybe well beyond 10 years, but I did not do. So later I am, you know, trying to do different things which may have supported me. But going forward, I should do it in very rapid phase if I want to be in another 5 years survival like that, right? So about, you know, tech and all that. So we may be not very tech savvy, but now you can't say like that. You need to be tech savvy also, right? So because that's what the environment demands. So you need to be ready in the form of, you know, being lectures. We have to be ready like that. Okay, that's basically some kind of, you know, the thinking, sharing for your benefit. If you wish that, you know, you can have your own sort of, you know, thinking strategies develop and make sure it's implemented. Then IMF continues, just for your reading, where that, you know, current funds and members and all that. But make sure, remember that IMF is not a financier. They do support for import, export, or trade gap problems. Other world organizations, what are those? Other world organizations is basically, they are the organizations who in turn give this financing support to these needy countries. ADB, JBIC, JICA, KFW, IFC, IFAD, right? So these are the financing organizations. Very rarely, except you could ask us what are the, you know, organization, world organization, you know, act as financier to support development initiatives in the country. So write 2 or 3, so you can pick one of 3 here, and then write your answer where you can get the marks. But I don't see that, you know, very recently things have been asked in that way, but there were several questions about 4 or 5 years back. So, but just to make sure, you know, these are the organizations, and in case write in a kind of a listing 1 or 2, so you are in a better position, because there are a couple of organizations here, right? Right. FDI. This is very interesting. Every country, every developing country, right? They wanted foreign direct investment, right? Because we have so many developed countries where very many organizations are operating, and they can come to countries like Sri Lanka, and they can invest in many projects where we are benefited in terms of money, in terms of technology, in terms of processes, in terms of skills development, in terms of training. I mean, so many things that they could bring. So in that terms, yes, we are happy we're getting FDIs, right? Again, policies to attract investment, that's number 1. You know that what happened in recent past in Sri Lanka, very many multinational organizations have not thought Sri Lanka as a better place for their investments due to various reasons. In order to process issue, in order to regulator, in order to legal, and so many things about labor and all that. So instead they move to Bangladesh, they move to Vietnam, right? They move to other countries where the policies are more attractive for their investments. So number 1 could be, we need to develop policies to attract investment, but make sure these it's not impact your sovereignty, your freedom. That's what the third line mentions. Many multinational corporations are involved in this FDI initiative. Policies need to focus on having the right condition in place. What the investors looks for: infrastructure, security, local laws, government corruption, freedom, local labor, legal issue, tax. So these are, things that they would look into. So they would sometimes demand, these things to be in our favor. But it's up to us to see whether, whether are we to amend those things in line with their demand without safeguarding our cultures and our, rules and all that, or it's a win-win proposition. Now, recent example is, after a couple of negotiations, US has withdrawn their donation, I must say, as per the words, Millennium Challenge Corporation, MCC investment. It's a FDI. So possibly they may not be willing to invest, bring that investment based on the conditions we imposed. So why our government may have invested, imposed the revised condition? Because the government would have thought, as it is, the condition may not be favorable for us. That's a one instant. We can't say right or wrong. But as a country, yes, we should say no if it is not coming in our way. Right? It's like, the power of the government to negotiate a win-win status. Good for them, good for us also. So FDIs, investors, generally MNCs, they look for this right condition in this. And they sometimes exploit the poor countries and saying that, we want this, if otherwise we are not, because they are unable to negotiate. They don't have bargaining power to do so. But, right proposition is, you try to go for win-win. Without FDIs, yes, you can't grow. You can't go to next level immediately. But you should not also compromise your freedom, sovereignty, rule of law. So many things, right? That's the, double side, of the cliffs and the cons of the FDIs. Right. Before moving to 8, actually this is basically MCC is basically not the foreign direct investment, is more or less like 8, but still it's coming with some kind of conditions which we are not very much happy. So that's what happened. So any thoughts, any feedbacks, any questions? Any ideas that you can share with others? No? So possibly you are getting well what we are discussing here. I know it's not difficult, more or less theory, if not boring, right? Because not like, mathematics kind of thing. I know, continuous lecturing may not be, well received, but bear with me, because these are something that, we need anyway to discuss, because part is due to the syllabus and there may be chances of, coming to this question papers also. But again, I must advise you to, make this as a starter and then build on your knowledge on that. So you can, go to next level, reading, getting knowledge, and then you are in a better position to, explore actually what's happening in the markets, right? Then we move to 8. 8 also very important, a country like Sri Lanka or maybe poor countries or underdeveloping or developing countries. Because it could be again coming from multilateral or bilateral, right? Maybe one country could give another, like, so if you take Victoria Dam, for example, and BMICH, for example, so that actually we have taken, I mean, we have been given from one country, maybe the Japan, maybe the China, and like that. Or even multilateral also there, like if you see these days, you know, several countries are giving aid for us to, you know, come out this pandemic. And even that could be an aid, right? Maybe, you know, giving free of charge vaccine, right, by WHO and EU and all that. Is aid for us, because otherwise you need to incur bigger costs, which may not be sustainable for our economy like that, especially during this period. So again, there are some benefits and there are costs. This is very important, right? When you are say, right? So then you have to think about, when somebody is giving this free of charge, what is behind, right? What are the attached strings of that aid? That is very important. That's what happened in MCC. In face of it, say for the roads, for lands. So it's like very nice picture. But when you are going through one by one process, it is not very much attractive. It is totally hazardous, I must say, right? So many, you know, things there to maybe what you call control, right, our country, right? So that's why, you know, it has been rejected outright by a expert panel appointment by the president some time back. Okay, so benefit, help to kickstart economic development, obvious, no? So let's say rather than you taking a loan and, you know, paying interest and all that, if we get something free, so you can, you know, start it in a quick phase. Let's take example, say you are an entrepreneur. If you started something, if your parents could give something like, you know, 500,000 as a starter, right, free of charge, it's a huge boost for you. Start the business. So working capital to fixed capital, whatever. But otherwise, if you go to a bank and take a personal loan and you have to pay off, and so you in your mind that you know that every month I have to pay something like so. I mean, not exactly, you know, the situation where you get the money free of charge. Used to help develop vital infrastructure needed to encourage other investment. Very important. Say health, social status, sometimes infrastructure, water, right? So maybe aid could support to people to uplift their standard. Then they are in a better position to go to work and, you know, give more to the economy. Not directly to the project, but project related other things, maybe environmental support. Example, say you are in an area where, you know, agriculture is happening very well, but the people, farmers, so they, you know, they are happy to come and give their, you know, labor to this agricultural farming. But going back to their homes, they have so many issues about electricity, about, you know, the elephant issue, about their schooling, about their water, protecting their family. So those are actually, if somebody can help them out through aid program, so you can do those things, then it's a happy farmer, right? Or maybe a high-tech farmer, for example. If you put, you know, smartphone and all that for them, so that's easy, you know, so do it and, you know, do whatever transaction, deal with home, so everything is happening. Maybe telecommunication infrastructure could be something that is ideal for these days. I mean, example, right? If you want to be at home and if you don't have two smartphones, for example, your kid wanted to do online, maybe one of the parents has to be at home, like that. So if it, I'm very simple example, I may say, it's like if you support the infrastructure, encourage other, then the labor, so they're happy farmer, so more productive. You need not to think about, you know, what's happening in the home front. It has been looked after by another development project. So those things we can get it at zero cost. The World Bank, ADB, they might help for the water, electricity, and housing. So they, you know, they prefer to give this than direct money to an investor, direct money to country. That's what's happening. But make sure the money is used for intended purpose. If not no use. I mean, that's what we need to, look very carefully, right? Cost. It is not always used for appropriate purposes. That's generally we see aid coming and not for intended purposes. Can be linked to various strings. Recipient's country's interest. That's what happened in MCC. සල්ලි ටිකක් නිකන් දෙනවා තමයි. හැබැයි ඒක පිටිපස්සේ ලොකු condition ගොඩක් එනවා නම් you may not be willing to accept that aid. Crowding out of domestic investment. So when you put everything free, aids, then it does not adequately support domestic investment. What happened in example, Samurdhi, like this creates a dependency culture going in hand to hand. So when you get things free of charge, government is giving something. If not this government, the next government would also give us. So then you are happy, right? So I get something about 1,000 per month. So it's good that why should I work? So I always I get something from the government. So that dependency. You are not thinking about I should do something and give out to society and so economy kind of. So you are not to that extent because I'm getting something. So if not next government, so they want our votes, so we will give our votes, so we get something back. Distorts the working of the market. So that's at the demand and supply. The same lie. Because when you give free of charge, you can't get 100% out of that. But if you don't have anything, then you say, no, I have to do something. I have to feed my family. I have to look after my family. So I have to go out and do something, not one job, maybe another 2 or 3. So that's the flip side of the aid. There are some benefits also. So it's a government, it's an organization, society to make sure that aid has been used effectively and efficiently to minimize the negative side of the particular instrument. Then we move to other sources like credit guarantees. Right? So what is this? Now, this is again an indirect sort of support. Right? Credit guarantee. It's like this. Now, let's say pawning, for example, some time back. World gold prices has come down drastically. And at that time, many banks were not in support of accommodating pawning advances. Why? Because earlier about 70, 75, now they know prices has come down. And then if you go to 70, 75, you don't see that appreciation of the gold in time to come, then you are at losing if they are going to default. So what the government wanted to do on this was to promote the pawning advances. The government has, given a kind of a guarantee in case if you are going to advance up to 70%, we will take care of 10% of that advance. Generally, bank would give 60, but treasury would come and say, you go to 70. The 10% would look after in case of a default. A kind of a guarantee from third party. Even the third party is here, government here, central bank. So like that, there are other examples. Say, you are into agriculture. You get a kind of credit line. And you give money to this agriculture because it is more lucrative or important sector in terms of country's economy. But you might thinking, giving money and collecting money may not be very easy in case of agri compared to other industries because farmers, they're not so credit worthy, not so financial organized, financial discipline. So we might have problems in recovering. But the government what could do, or maybe the credit lines itself, they might say, to give it maybe about 80-85% you can advance. Generally would do say 60%, but we will cover 25% of the advance loan in case of a default. So then if I am a bank, I would say, yeah, I am happy to give 60%. But since the government is giving another 25% advance credit guarantee in case of a default, so I might even go for 85%. Now there is a new set of farmers, new set of portfolio coming, new set of economic support, because due to the government credit guarantee, banks are geared, motivated to do more. It's an indirect kind of a support because it's a sources of financing, but credit guarantee is an indirect source, right? Because of that, bank has granted 10% more, 25% more. Another example, export credit guarantee. You know that whenever bank wanted to finance the exporters and importers, we discussed with SLASIC, Sri Lankan Export Credit Insurance Corporation, and they provide us pre-insurance and post-insurance. Let's say, especially importer, there is a country risk. Let's say you are exporting to say tea to Russia, and then we have a buyer risk because non-payment by the importer from that country, buyer. Then the exporter would come and say that I want to do this business. It is done open account. It is done export LC basis, right? So it is done on collection basis. So there may be several methods of doing the business. But I want to prefer get a kind of a comfort by way of insurance. So if I am a banker to that exporter, to that customer, then I know if the SLASIC is coming and giving a guarantee to cover the buyer risk, I am not in a very big risk to advance against the bill, purchase of the bill, discount the bill, because after 45 days, after 6 days, there is a chance that I am getting the money from the importer, buyer from that country. In case of default, non-payment, I have a fallback. That's a credit guarantee issued by this SLASIC. You getting the point? So like that, so it basically indirectly motivates the bank to give more, support the entrepreneur, support the SME. So if not, we might not undertake that because no guarantee, no conformity of sending the payment, getting the payment, if it is not export LC. So I am at a risk. If I am going to, discount the bill and give the money to this customer, then if the buyer is not going to send the remittances to me, then I have to demand it from this exporter. I am not, so great to, motivated to give loans to the export if it doesn't provide a adequate collateral. But in this case, may not be 100% collateral, but I might okay with the arrangement because performance is there, part of collateral is there, buyer profile is there, buyer insurance like SLASIC is also there. So in a package, I am happy. You understand? So these are another set of instrument where we can take as sources of financing, right? Then interest subsidy. This is another method of giving support to entrepreneurs or even the personal. I'm taking the personal view, a personal example, and then move to the organization-wide example. Say you are working in a bank, and first place is say if you want to take a housing loan from outside, it could be 7%, 8%, 9%. But if you are trying to get it from your own organization, you will be charged 4%. In technically speaking, your organizations is bearing 3% of your interest cost. Because if you go to the market, it's something 7%, but your organization gives 7%, so that is 3% benefit for you. That is a personal example I can quote here. If you take in an entrepreneur's perspective, if you go to a bank, the market rate is 10%. And then if the bank could give the money instead of 10, if you can go about 7%, from customer's perspective, there is a subsidy. But for us, is basically now that 3% is a cost for us. But if the treasury would reimburse that 3%, it's not a cost for me. So then that's we call the interest subsidy. It is beneficial to the customer or the entrepreneur or an individual personal customer by reduction of interest rate. For me also, I'm not making a kind of a bigger risk because the government could reimburse for me. In all and all, because that we are giving that interest subsidy at a concessionary rate that we are offering the money to the particular individual or the entrepreneur, then they are better in terms of getting, utilizing, creating margins and paying off also. It could reduce the NPL impact also. Economically, socially, we are better off. Right? So again, but remember, who is bearing this cost? That is basically the cost is borne by general public in a country. So that's what the issue, because when you say interest subsidy, yes, treasury is reimbursing, but in terms of treasury, it's a public money. So those are the the things that we need to be in our mind. When say interest subsidy, yes, everything you can give and you can get good customers and everything fine, but it is a cost for somebody else. Now these days, like actually it was a practice for about now 7-8 years back. For the senior citizens, first 1 to 1.5 million, we are giving 15% interest. Even right now, it's been happening. So actually something that we can give is now 5% for these days. There's 10% interest cost borne by a bank. Could be subsidized by the government. That was the understanding. So as another example. So it basically, in terms of consumption perspective, that money is a support to these individuals, senior citizens. It's another form of the interest subsidy. There are so many examples, maybe individual, maybe a businessman, maybe like, consumers like, in consumption stage, the kind of a subsidy. But remember, when you say subsidy, it is a subsidy for the person who is getting it, but it's a cost for somebody else, because you can't, giving subsidy free of charge. That has to be kept in mind. These things may not be, everlasting things. You need to do it for a shorter period, and then again, you need to revert back to general economic supply and demand rules, right? So that's what always, when these people talking about Samurdhi and Janasavya and all that, so we need to put a stop on that. So we always try to make sure these people bring into the society in forms of labor, in forms of investment-backed businesses. So try to bring them out of the poverty. Next level. This is a motivator. This is an initiator. So longer you can't do this. Maybe after another 10 years time, Yes, you have to, but you can't give more and more number some of the recipients in another 5 years. So then it is not workable. It's like eternal cost to the economy. So you need to, think about those aspects. Right. Refinance is another very good concepts. Probably you might be knowing, you might be hearing these things. So what is this refinancing schemes? So refinancing is again operating in this way. Say you are a bank and there is a customer. You evaluate customer business request and you provide a loan to the customer at the prevailing market rate. So customer is supposed to pay at agreed intervals, at an agreed rate, agreed terms and conditions. That's a normal loan contract. Now suppose a bank could give that money at a reduced rate. Not the interest subsidy I'm telling. To that, bank also has to get money at a reduced rate. How you could do this? Say there is another organization called Central Bank, foreign organizations, foreign banks. So they provide money to this bank at low cost because they have sources of funding to do that in terms of economic development in overall objective. So then if you get that money at say 4%, then the bank could give the money at 6% to the entrepreneur, keeping 2% margin for their operational and whatever provisioning and all costs. So that sort of arrangement is called refinancing. Refinancing credit lines. We have number of refinancing credit line available even today, and we had it previously also. So this basically intended for particular use to support agriculture, to support poverty alleviation, to support women entrepreneurship, to support fixed capital investment of a company. And so based on that, you have identified those sectors, which in turn could be a support to the economic growth. Then you have developed these schemes. I have given you a short note on this as well. But main idea here is you give funds at concessionary rate to support entrepreneur or economic development. How you can do that? You are getting back the money from multinational organizations, banks, foreign countries, or countries' central bank. So by doing this, all parties are benefited because bank, when you give at low rate, because you can give more and more volume, and your provisioning or your repayments may not be very much impacted because at low rate. Customer getting the money at low rate, so he has a better profit margin, so he can service without any default, and overall the economy, society is benefited. That's what generally refinancing schemes are, right? So you can also read the bit of outdated on some credit because credit line they might have has been over right now, but there are new refinancing credit lines available in the market as well, right? Then supporting policies and services. So these are something where in addition this or direct or indirect sources, there are supporting policies, procedures, services offered by different stakeholders in this economy. Sri Lankan government, ministries, departments may time to time would provide advisory services, credit funding, and economics sort of infrastructure and regulation support through budget or otherwise to uplift, support this development projects and initiatives. I invite you to read through recent budget concessions and be familiar with key proposals related to SME individuals. Like even last week, I think I have shared in the groups, the WhatsApp groups, that I got it through kind of some concessions offered to SME entrepreneur and professionals and housing loans and all that. So you will be able to find it in web also, right? So try to read through those articles and be familiar, important for exams. Then extension services, because central bank not located in a central position, they have now outsourced, I mean say decentralized their offices, maybe Matale, maybe Jaffna, so like that. So then even the entrepreneurs can take the CBSL support, be located in outside Colombo. It's a good service. And SME centers by state and commercial banks, not like those days. SMEs can walk in and get an idea about what are their markets, what are the new trends, IT support, financial infrastructure, financial discipline, how to prepare accounts, how to do a balance sheet, how to do a business plan. So those things also offered by these SME centers. So indirect support, right? If you want to, get a kind of a link to foreign countries, there's EDB support there. And local counterparts, there may be some database, the SME centers offered by these state and commercial banks. Island-wide, they have, created these things. Other supporting initiatives like different banks, they might come up with different instruments, strategies. Like I have given those things, could be, right now they have, done this very well. In addition, whatever the new initiatives, if you take Union Bank, Vyaparika Sabya, NDB SME centers, Bank of Ceylon SME centers, IFC SME toolkits. It's in the web. If you go to web and if you type IFC SME toolkit, it's a joint venture, joint work initiated by Dialogue and IFC. Very comprehensive knowledge base for entrepreneur, banker, even students. There are so many things to refer. Just go and see. It shows how to prepare accounting, how to do bookkeeping, how to make a balance sheet, P&L, how to start a business, how to do a business plan in all three languages. So very informative. Just go and see and share among your customers because it's free of charge. A very good thing. So it is good that if the customer is doing well, things in order, it makes your life easier as a credit officer, as a bank officer. So central bank provincial offices, you can read through these things, right? They have Matra, Anuradhapura, Matale, right? And these are some of the objectives. So I have put here, because these functions and the objectives, I have seen some time back, they have asked us to write a short note on central bank provincial offices. When they have asked it, so it's good that, we write at least 3-4 lines covering their objectives, their functions. Not difficult, but good that you a bit of memorize and keep it, because these things may not be possible in other reading materials if you are not going and intently pursuing this data. Hence, good that go through and get a bit of idea on what is provincial offices, how they operate, what are their functions, right? Very important. This is basically the central bank provincial office. It's not a very big deal. They do basically the the activities done by the central bank in different levels, but located in branch. Example, carry out CBSL key function in the province. So they do bank supervision. From here, bank supervision support may be done at their level. If we classed one last, support regional planning activities and undertake resource surveys to identify. So with regional planning among financial institutions and among business communities, they do it there. And then it will be helpful for center. Provincial specific problems. So that's again very great thing. If you talk, the common platform being Colombo may not be readily applicable for Jaffna. Or maybe Matale like more agree towards initiatives. So it's good that you do a tailor-made, a domestic planning, development initiatives. So that has been undertaken by central bank provincial officers. So good to know that. Then SME centers. Again, I was telling, this is basically a brainchild of central bank and being now spearheaded by so many banks. Now every bank is having these SME centers in regional or selected locations. So basically, they do advice on projects, advice on markets, advice on guidance on setting up new business ventures, information through internet access. So this is like a separate center in your branch, a separate location. So SMEs can walk in and experiment, search, research their products, markets, processes, knowledge. So it's a good platform. So by doing so, both parties are benefited because SMEs now they are up to date on the knowledge, skills, and processes. Then they go back and do so many things. Right? Otherwise, this is a hassle for you to train them, educate them. Instead, now they come and start their own. Even now, internet access and all that. So sometimes many banks have developed, so they can do the banking from their home, even opening LCs, trade activities, and all that. So it's a good initiative for you and them also. There may be an entrepreneur involved with that being at their home. So he does it himself. So then he takes a good decision. Then send in a messenger and so you together and you do it. But for your life also, now it's easy because it's online. You just, go through and you can send it to trade for opening LC. So those things also facilitated through these new initiatives. SME Toolkit. I just wanted to share this. If you have, just go to the Google and type SME Toolkit. It's a dialogue, IFC, a joint venture. This is like, the screenshot that you can see it. I mean, comprehensive database, information pack in 3 languages. Whatever you want, I mean, a lot of things are there. Understanding the balance sheet, understanding incomes, it's good for us also. Especially SMEs, they are not preparing very detailed, transparent, comprehensive P&L balance sheet cash flows. Instead, they do it in their own way. But for us, for our decision making, it is good that if you, do it in a more, methodically or inconsistent among all SMEs. For that, these things would be useful. Right? That's it basically. So today, what we have done so far is we try to understand some sources available for development financing. So we start with internal and external financing. And also we discuss venture capital and business angels. When you say business financing like internal and external, internal is mainly about organic growth. Could be supported by way of sales, retained profits, selling of asset. Then when we talk about external sources of financing, it's like long-term, short-term, and mergers and acquisition. It's like long-term in the sense we talk about shares in terms of new share, bonus share, right share, preference share, general equity share. So there are methods that you can fund long-term share basis. Long-term loans, mortgage loans, those also debentures are another long-term loan requirements. In short-term is all about short-term working capital facilities. By doing that, so we can support customer internal and externally. Finally, we learn mergers and acquisitions also. So mergers and acquisition, basically, it's where merger is some kind of win-win proposition for two organizations to come, and some identities of each organization would prevail post-merger. But acquisition, it's one side, taking the control, ownership to everything, and then the acquired company have no say. Acquiring company have the final say. Then we move to, in general, as a country perspective, what are the availability of sources of financing? There we discuss about international organizations and aid and grant or indirect investments are some of the things that we need to be aware with. We need to know what are those, what are the advantages, disadvantages, and what are the things that we should do in order to encourage these things while minimizing the impact to a country's stability and all that. And when you talk about organizations, international organizations, what are the organizations directly involved in development or the financing? Like IMF is not the organization is involved in financing, whereas they are capable or they are doing different role. So those things that you need to know. Then we discuss about other indirect instruments like refinancing, interest subsidy, credit guarantees and all that. They are not directly involved in financing. They are indirect support to promote the financing needs. That also we learn. Finally, we talk about like indirect or other organizational support. That's about, what the central bank and those things also do. And what about private organizations are going to do? And what are the, the central bank provincial centers going to do? SME centers going to do? SME toolkits and all that. So basically, another aspects which we may not exactly keep our eyes open on those segments, but they do an immense job. That's why I'm saying SME toolkit. Go home and see how important this is. Even for you and me too, there are a lot of things to learn. Because fundamentals is the key in lending. But sometimes when you do businesses, the fundamentals may be not be using as we intended to use or expected to use. But when you refer in these articles, things, models, it's good for us as well as advising customers, because these customers are SMEs, are not so financial discipline. So these things are good for them to put into a correct path. Both parties would be beneficial. So all in all, that's what I wanted to discuss for today's session. So now it's up to you to question or share your thoughts about what we have done today. So please start questioning. No questions? You are happy to hear that next week we don't have class, so that you are planning your next weekend outing, or what are your thoughts? How do you see that so far that we have done 3 sessions? So you want me to, continue in the same vein, or you need to me to do a further slow down in lecturing, or what do you think? Please let me know, so that in case if it is not exactly come in your purview, come in your thoughts, that then if you want to expedite, if you want to slow down, if I can continue this way. Also, you can suggest me the way that I am planning to do is like, maybe more on theory and presentation in first few days. So thereafter we can do the past paper questions. or sometimes depending on the severity, we might do 1 or 2 questions relevant to particular units that what we have done, and then we can go to next item in the syllabus. So all options are available. Let me know your thoughts. That so the best way that I am there to support you, because otherwise this should be win-win. Yeah, thank you, Malki. I know obviously if you are trying to slow this, may not be very practical, because these things are more or less notes, facts, could be boring. But when come to the mathematics areas, I will take enough time and we'll do examples. No worry about the timing. I have adequate time until March. I mean even February. I'm not exactly sure that where they are going to have the exams. Probably now if we have December, January, February, March, probably post April, I think could be I can figure it out, because at least they need four months to cover this. Let's see how well they do. But even the 4 months period, December, January, February, March, is more than enough for me to cover the syllabus with adequate the questions and all that. No worry about the syllabus coverage, but I'll take a kind of then a same method of what do you call speed. And when come to the question, mathematics and related, will take extra time, so that everybody to get a more comprehensive idea on what we do. Yeah, Shehani, you have some other thoughts. I'll try to make it kind of balanced. Malki is say speed is okay. Shehani wanted a bit slow down. So we'll see that how best I could do make a kind of balance between average to slow. Because what I will do is then some key areas will take more time. In the general areas, I will do a normal speed. So it's okay with others as well. Please have your views even ongoing when we do lectures. If you are not very much comfortable about things not clear, just let me know and repeat it, please. So I will do like that, right? No hurry. I'm no issue on that. So I can repeat it in 3-4 times, because ultimately what we need to know is we need to get the concepts correct. Because without that, so we are unable to even attempt the question, pass papers, and also you are in like bad wicket when you go to office and when you are trying to interpret other stuffs. Okay, so thank you very much for being with me. It's the 3rd day for today, and next week we are not going to have it classes. You can take a very safe holidays if you are planning to do so. And I make this opportunity to wish you very happy Christmas for those who are celebrating Christmas, and for others safe holidays. And also I wish you very happy advanced New Year, because probably we are meeting after the New Year as well. So thank you very much again for being with me. So we'll meet first Sunday on January. Right. Thank you.